record this. Let me, Patricia, I'm just gonna, well, I'll keep you on, and then if I have any questions, you can answer while we're doing this. Okay. Patricia is 67. She is into Pilates. Now, Patricia, are you a Pilates instructor or you just really like Pilates? I can't remember.
I'm a teacher trainer.
Okay. All right. So perfect. Teacher trainer of Pilates. She has severe left shoulder osteoarthritis. Her doctors are recommending she gets a total shoulder replacement. She has been working with a physiotherapist over there. Actually remotely, I think, right, Patricia?
Mm-hmm. Anna Magazine. Yeah, she's in Sweden.
Yeah, Anna, what's her Instagram? Physio something.
Physio Stockholm, I think.
Yeah, Physio Stockholm. Yes, she's awesome. So she's been working with her and doing really, really well, successfully delaying surgery. She just says she's in great shape. She can keep up with her grandkids, doing really well, looks great, super active, fit. So let's see what we can do for her. She says she's a wide ISA. She has 2 adult children, both born via C-section. She had early detection breast cancer in 2019 that was treated with tumor removal and brief radiation. Which side was that on?
Right side.
Right side. She had a right total hip replacement in 2019. And she exercises daily. She does FRC. She does some of Katie St. Clair's workouts, which are awesome if you don't do them, and Pilates. She wants an overall assessment today. She keeps telling me, she's like, I just want you to look at me and kind of tell me what's going on. So we'll definitely do that. Obviously, she wants to decrease the pain in her shoulder as much as possible. So we'll kind of ask her what she's experiencing there. She'd like to add more plyometrics to her workouts because she doesn't like them very much. Cardio, and then wants to do more cardio, wants to work on her stack. She says she kind of lives in extension, and address her kyphotic forward head posture. So we'll just kind of keep those things in mind. A lot of them are kind of linked and related. So we'll see how she moves. So here Patricia is squatting. And I just want y'all, and I put this one on Instagram, but let's just kind of watch it. And if you want to call anything out and see what you see, or talk about what you see, then we can start putting the pieces together here. What I wrote in the Instagram on the squat that I saw most notably was difficulty sort of opening up the back of the pelvis, opening up that outlet so she can kind of get deeper in that squat. You can almost see her hip flexors kick in at the bottom there. I'll show you again. She comes down, she comes down, she comes down. Right at the end, that left hip flexor kind of goes a little bit. Okay.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Before doing these assessments, I never did a squat in my life.
Okay.
Like a squat.
Okay, that's fine. So is this like as deep as you are able to go, or are you stopping yourself to keep yourself upright? That was a question I had.
It's as deep as I can go, keeping the squat look. If
Okay.
I wanted to go deeper, I'd have to hinge. I can hinge.
Right. Yep. That's fine. That's fine. It's just good to clarify. Yep. The biggie I noticed with her that relates back to her shoulders is just how much tension she's holding in her mouth, her eyes, her hands, her elbows, her shoulders in this squat. So there's a lot of kind of like over recruitment neurologically in other places. And some of that's like focus related, I'm guessing. Like I'm trying to stay upright, so I have to recruit all these other areas, but I'd love to get her to the point where that doesn't happen, because I don't know if it's serving her well to have that much tension in her neck and shoulders with movements like this, if that makes sense. Especially with what we know about her shoulder condition. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to note there?
Hey.
Yeah.
So I agree that the back of her pelvic floor, I mean, she said she's never done a squat, so maybe she doesn't know that it's supposed to have a bit of a hip hinge. And maybe she's trying to do that like tuck under because she doesn't know.
Yeah.
But I would imagine that because of her butt, how it's pretty flat, it seems to me that is a habitual thing that she does is probably grip with her butt and hit the back of her pelvic floor. Also, I think her Achilles may be pretty tight because her heels raise at the bottom when her knees get about to the edge where her toes are. So she seems to have pretty limited dorsiflexion there.
Yeah. So what might we do? Let's talk about what we might do to, obviously we can educate her that she's allowed to kind of open up those hips a little bit, maybe, you know, talk about pelvic floor gripping and letting things go. What else could we do to help with the Achilles tightness situation? How could we help her?
This has nothing to do with Achilles tightness, but it would be great to see her from the front too, just to see how that overall clenching, how that looks from the front. I'm just curious what else she's engaging.
Yeah, I agree.
And my thing too is if she engages so much, like where else does she apply that much effort in her day-to-day, in her Pilates, even getting off the floor? Is that maybe just happening?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, does this translate maybe further?
Yeah.
I know she hasn't really done a squat, but the thing is, where else is this potentially translating to?
For sure. So we're just starting to get to know Patricia right now through this one movement, and then we'll kind of look at some other things and compare it. You're absolutely right. Is this a trend? Is this just like learning a new movement pattern? What is this? Absolutely. Let's look at her. I have more, so let's go to that. But yeah, we can put her heels up and see if that squat looks a little bit different to kind of take some of that Achilles tension out of the situation there. Got a back view here, just so you can see what's going on from there. So what do we see there from a frontal plane standpoint?
Again, she has like a little bit of that valgus genu. You know, like her knees are collapsing, her heels are also kind of overpronating.
Yep.
And she's shifted to the right.
That's right.
In her hip. Yeah.
Yep. She's shifting to the right. Absolutely. So you can see her as she's coming down. Everything's kind of just tracking over towards that right side. So it'd be nice to get her more into the left side to sort of balance out that squat a little bit more. Because anytime you have a squat that's more balanced like that, there's going to be less need to feel like you're trying to pull yourself out of it, and less need to kind of recruit some of those extra helpers in there. Okay, so that's definitely good things to notice. And we can talk about a little bit why her knees are coming together, and it might have something to do potentially with her pelvis being sort of not allowing if the pelvis isn't able to go through its motions as it comes down into that squat, the knees might be collapsing in to kind of compensate for that. That often happens, but we'll check her out and we'll see.
And then I'm looking at her shoulder blades, and I see that the shoulder blades aren't resting on her ribs. They're jutting out.
Yes.
So that's possibly related. I can't see if there's a discrepancy, but it looks like the left one is sticking out more. So there's that asymmetry, that they're not resting correctly.
Yep, I would agree with that. You can actually, because she's so lean, you can actually see that left kind of lower trap sort of hanging on for dear life, but we're not getting a whole lot of recruitment out of mid trap rhomboids there. There's kind of like a hole almost, right? So good observation for sure. Okay, but definitely a little bit of a kind of a squat that's kind of leaning to the left, and then you can see her shoulders are kind of leaning to, her hips are leaning to the right, so her shoulders are having to kind of compensate and lean to the left. Here is a hip hinge. And I actually had to ask her on an email if this was her doing a toe touch or if she was trying to keep her back, if she was intentionally trying to keep her back flat, or if this was just what her toe touch looked like. And she said that this was her intentionally trying to keep her back flat.
Right. Because again, I was trying to avoid doing the typical roll-up exercise in Pilates where you just roll. It's really a rectus strategy where you just dump everything forward. And that was how the toe touch came out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm again seeing that pelvic floor gripping, which like I have a lot of clients that do Pilates and it just seems to be a pattern that I see.
Got it.
Where they can't release the sit bones and kind of open up back there for a hinge.
Yeah. I mean, she's really flat in her like lumbar spine. Like you can see how the lumbar just kind of turns straight into the sacrum. It's just like, you know, a little bit kind of a loss of a curvature there. And I wonder, you're right, like in Pilates and there's a lot of that like kind of tucking cue sometimes, but I don't know. What do you think it is, Patricia? Do you see that in Pilates, that a lot of practitioners and practicers kind of get over tucked in their glutes?
25 years ago. So when I started 25 years ago, that was how we were instructed to do it.
Right.
To do it. Excuse me. We were supposed to do it. And it's taking me all this time to undo it.
Yeah.
So from 2005 to today, I stopped doing all of that, but still the damage was done because I started in 95. So 95 to 2005, there was a lot of tucking, a lot of imprinting where you flattened the lumbar spine. That was what it was. And I really didn't know better. And so from 2005 to now, I'm trying to understand how to do Pilates better by not doing the things that we were taught in the very beginning.
Okay. So Patricia, we'll talk about that. I'd like to know kind of what you are thinking about and what you are doing to sort of break yourself from that pattern.
I started studying with Alex Effer about a year and a half ago, and then I came on board with Katie's program in January. And since then, a lot of it has been about the stack, about breathing differently.
Yep.
So a lot more breathing strategies, breathing into the sternum, breathing into the pump handle, the bucket handle, being just be more posture aware of that, and bringing that to every exercise, not crunching down in the sternum, and just trying to be aware. And the opening of the sit bones.
Yep.
I love to open the sit bones. So I can, but again, in doing these tests, ignorance was deep. So in fact, when somebody pointed out on this call that maybe I was just trying to do the squat the right way, it's exactly what I was trying to do because I didn't know what the heck I was doing.
Got it. Okay. All right. We will, we'll look much. Go ahead.
Sorry. Hi, Patricia.
Who's that?
It's me, Jill, in Norway, your other Pilates friend. Undoing a lot of stuff. But I was just curious because quite a bit of the Pilates movement is not on your feet. You're often in different positions on an apparatus or various apparatuses. There's not a whole lot where you're actually having to organize yourself on your feet. Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious how you feel when you're moving on like a reformer or the Cadillac. Do you feel like more of a lightness in your body, like when you're doing that hip flexion, like a squat type of, or your knees bending, like a knee stretch, for example, when you're doing knee stretches, do you feel like that flow, like it's lighter? And then when you stand on your feet that you kind of, because that happened to me where it's like I didn't know what to do on my feet when I was up against gravity, because a lot of the Pilates work is not like that.
right? It's not on your feet. It's not standing. A lot of it is supine.
Right.
My feet are tragic. My feet are tragic, really. So they're very quote unquote flat. And the first time I actually ever felt the inner arch, the medial longitudinal arch, was the other evening with Raleigh on a Katie call when she had me do a pronation drill. That was the first time I actually ever felt my arch lift ever. So I too have a very hard time on my feet.
Okay. Well, we'll look at you. We'll probably look at you doing some stuff on your back too, just to see if there's a difference in the tension in the face and the jaw and the shoulders and all that, because you can see it here too with this one. So let's move.
I have a question real quick about Pilates. Is it acceptable or is it customary to use like a lumbar support to protect the lower back curvature, or is the supine always flat back, nothing underneath your lower back?
It's changed over time. So again, in the very beginning, it was flat back, but that has changed over time.
Mm-hmm.
And
so there's a support. Is there like a cushion that you put under it, or you just kind of like?
Some teachers do. Some teachers do. Yeah. In now, there's really no rules. Well, the rules have lessened quite a bit, but I come from the classical world, and the classical world was very strict. There was one way of doing things, and if you didn't do it that way, you were blacklisted. So, but from the year 2000, when everything changed and contemporary Pilates exploded, then anything goes, really. But traditionally, no, there were no props. There were no maximally somebody put a pillow under the head. But
yeah, I would look into.
But there were no lumbar supports.
I come from a yoga background, and it's very similar the way Joseph Pilates worked, right? And it was very similar, where it was very strict, no props. And now I love props. I would definitely look into getting a lumbar support for when you're supine, because I think that will solve a lot. You know, anytime you're flat back, it's going to be hard for you to not do that habitual pushing your spine into the floor, right? So having some sort of lumbar support underneath, I think would work wonders.
Yeah. So Patricia, perfect suggestion, just starting like on your back supine hook lying with something underneath your lumbar, and just working on just the breath work that you've already been doing, but trying to get your sacrum to like let go and relax a little bit more, instead of creating that tilt throughout the breath cycle, if that makes any sense.
I don't really try, you mean a posterior pelvic tilt?
Just trying to keep you a little bit more neutral instead of like posteriorly tilted.
Right. I don't purposely try to posteriorly tilt.
Oh, I know you don't. I think it's patterned. And
exactly.
Yeah, no, I know you're not intentionally doing it, but I think that there has to be some intent to undo it.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I don't know who was on there, but what she was suggesting was perfect, to just use a prop to encourage a more neutral positioning of the pelvis, so that it's more possible to be there and live there and find there and breathe there, and just get used to that. Really good suggestion. Oh wait, what did I just do? This is her doing a more traditional forward fold, just so you can see how her spine does move. So you can see that it's like exactly what she's saying, that it's kind of rectus dominant. It's sort of like just that kind of banana pose, very tucked under, curled under posturing. And you can see it's almost like when she initiates it, the glutes are already clenched before she even goes into it, right? You can see that crease line in the back of her pants a little bit. And so she's not doing it purposely. It's just the way she stands. And so we're seeing it throughout, is what I'm saying, in different situations. Shoulder, Okay, it's her left shoulder, remember? That's the severe osteoarthritis. Is that pain on your face, Patricia?
Excruciating pain.
Okay. And it's deep in the shoulder joint itself that you feel?
Yeah, this was August. It's so this was quite a while ago. It's much better now, actually.
Good. Great. You can see that upper trap kicking on at the end as she starts to lose range of motion there. Okay. Any other observations from that one? It's almost hard to watch, right? Because you just know that she's just hurting so bad. Okay. And then the last one was just her gait. Any comments on her gait cycle?
I still see that gripping in the pelvic floor. I really see it now. Like in the back there, it's sort of box-like, like the walk, and there's like little rotation on the top because it's like real clenched. Aw.
Yeah, cute. I'm sorry. I'll get to the end again, but yeah, that's sweet. It's almost, yeah, like everything's moving like as one. Is that what you mean by box-like?
Yeah.
Like it's like she's just picking up. It's almost like what I call kind of like a hip flexor dominant gait pattern, where it's like she just has to like kick from the hips because she's not really able to get like a good push off or any kind of rotation either out of her feet or her glutes or her, you know, there's just not a whole lot of that rotational movement. So it's just like pick a leg up, put it down, pick a leg up, put it down.
Yeah, what I mean by box-like, I always think in my head, because I have little kids, I'm like, oh, it's like a Lego figure would walk, like just from the legs versus like a whole body connection.
Right. That's a good way of putting it.
And I just see very little foot articulation, very little.
Yeah, your feet are kind of just like kind of there for the ride. It doesn't look like they're involved quite so much with pushing the body through space.
You can really see how anterior the femur head is. Like again, it is that push behind, and it's really forward in that hip socket.
Yeah.
Sockets.
Yeah.
It's like the pelvis is in a jazz hands position. That's all I can think. That's the.
Oh my God, no one's ever said that. That's amazing. Sorry, I delayed reaction, but I get it. It's like,
yes. Yeah.
Sorry. Oh man, I'm using that. Thank you. That's perfect. It's in a jazz hands position. You're right. And so this brings me back to her squat that we saw. Like if her pelvis is in a jazz hands position, but when she gets into a 90-degree angle of her squat, that pelvis needs to go and come like this. But if it can't do that, it's jazz hand, then God, I love that. The femurs are going to have to somehow drive some sort of internal rotation to get her into the mid-range of that squat. And so that's why you see the knee valgus come in, is because the femurs are trying to drive that internal rotation because the pelvis isn't able to do that. She isn't able to open up the pelvis in the back in order to get the femurs to come in. So she's sort of forcing them in and over pronating the feet, like a fake pronation and a valgus knee, if that makes any sense.
So so what is the jazz hands like this?
I'm coming back, hold on. I'm gonna get you on here, Patricia. The jazz hands is, I'm trying to get me set up here too. There we go. The jazz hands is like the ER pelvis. Yeah, Yeah. So when
but she's a wide ISA?
That's what she says. Let's check it out. Can you show us your IS? Can you measure, can you like show us where your rib cage is with your hands?
Okay, so it's showtime, yeah?
Yeah, Patricia and I talked about not wearing black on the call, and she said that's all she owns because she lives in Europe and that's all they own. And I was like, I get it. So, all right. So yeah, just walk your fingers all the way up, all the way into the top. Yep. And then can you walk down from there? Okay, stop right there. Go back up to the top. All the way up. There you go. Stop right there. You're a narrow. Do you see how at the top it's narrow? Okay. So I wanted to look at this too because I was like, I don't think she's wide, but she's a narrow. Okay. Everybody's going to get wide there at the bottom. Okay. But that's why we want to walk all the way up and see where they intersect and you get that angle at the top. So she's a narrow. So what that means is that her pelvis likes to be more oriented into jazz hands. Who said that, by the way? Give yourself credit.
I did, Dawn.
Dawn, that's so fantastic. All right. So jazz hands, externally rotated pelvis, okay, and lends itself already to being more tight in the back of that pelvic outlet, okay? So one of the greatest things that we can do for Patricia is to try to get her pelvis to establish a little bit more internal rotation to try to open up the back of those hips. Patricia, have you done anything, any of that like hip shifty, like trying to pull the femur back in the socket type of stuff? And how does that work for you?
I do that all the time. I try to do that all the time. I'm enthralled with it. What can I say? I think I'm doing it. You know,
is there one that you really like to do that we could look at?
Lateral lunge.
Okay.
Anyway, Anna always told me I was a narrow. So
okay, good.
Okay,
let's just see a lateral.
So tell me what to do though.
Back up a little bit.
Can you see me okay?
Yeah, just back up a little bit more. That's good. And then just put your feet a little bit wider. Yep. And back up a little bit more. And would you mind rolling your pants up so we can see your feet?
Mm-hmm. Would it be better on the floor?
Maybe for now, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, that'll be good. And just, can you just give a couple rolls to those pants so we can see your ankles a little bit more?
Hold on.
Is there anything, while she's doing this, is there anything else that you guys want to look at on her to get more information? I want to see her do a rotation test.
How's that?
That's good. Let me see you lunge to one side and show me your little hip shifty.
Okay.
All right. Let me have you come back out of that. Let me have you turn to the right, face us from the side and do the same thing. Face that wall. Yep. Come over toward, yep. So lunge towards us again and let's see it from the side. What do you think, guys?
Is it all this?
That extension.
It's a little more, yeah, it's okay. It's just coming, and I think you know it, right? It's just coming a little bit more from extension of the lumbar, and we're cheating, and which means we're cheating it out of getting it into the back of the hips. Okay, go ahead, come back out of that. Let's have you turn to the other side, facing the fireplace, and I'll have you do it to the left.
So change sides?
Yep. So just lunge towards us, going to the left. You got it. She's yep. Are you playing with it a little bit right now?
I'm trying to not extend so much.
Yeah, I can see it. It's okay. But can you see what happens when she tries not to extend, how she tucks the bum back under? So she's sort of in this like whack-a-mole situation where it's like, if I try to flex my spine, I actually tuck my bum instead of being able to stay neutral spine and open glutes at the same time. And that is our goal for her. It's how do we keep her spine a little bit neutral, but get her to sit into her pelvis a little bit more.
This is working, and it feels like it's opening. It feels that way.
Okay, let me see it from the front. Yeah, Amanda, that's where I was going to go too.
Which side?
Go to the left. Okay, and then come back up. Go to the right. Let's look at her feet too. All right, go to the left again. Do you see how she kind of, okay, look at her right foot there, pushing off, okay, and then go over to the other side. Yep. She seems to get better shift in her feet to push off her left than she does to push off her right. Yeah. So she's like, when she, go ahead and push off your right, go back into the left. She says she's got a pronated foot, which she does fake pronation there, but you see how she's kind of staying supinated on that right. Can you drive the inside of your arch down into the floor a little bit? There you go. And just see if you can create some energy to get into that left a little bit more. Okay. And the toes are coming up. Yep. Yeah, you want to look at her breathing, Jill? That's a good idea. All right, so Amanda says lunge to the right and reach the left arm towards the right foot. How does that feel?
Great.
Do you feel more opening in the hip with that? No change?
No change. It feels good in the thorax.
Got it. Okay, and then let's see you do it to the other side. How do you pin Patricia so you only see her on the phone? I think you go to the, I don't know how to do it on the phone, but what you do is you go to her picture and then there's 3 dots there and you press them and then it says to pin. I believe, I don't know if that's how it works on the phone, but that's how it works on the computer. Okay, and then come back up and out of it. All right, Patricia. Let's have you lie on the floor there. Let's look at your breathing, okay? So you're just gonna lie on your back side so we can see you from the side. Let's start brainstorming. How are we gonna get those glutes to open up on her, but still maintain a neutral-ish spine?
I'd be curious for her to do some like self, like ball work on her glutes and then go into that lateral shift. I think there's like some patterning and some neural stuff that it feels like it's working, but I think things are like shortening and there might be feeling like work there, but not a feeling of lengthening and tension there, which is very different. Mm-hmm. And maybe some work with a myofascial ball and then going into some movement can help her system kind of recognize the distinction of those feelings between a shortening and engagement and a lengthening and engagement, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. I've worked on those balls for years.
Yeah.
Years. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's almost like we need the ball, but we need to couple it with an exercise that encourages that length and working at the same time, because that's truly what she needs. She's never going to live life with the glutes lengthened if she's not strong there. She's strong with them short. She doesn't have the repetition and practice being strong with them long. And so we need to find that space for her and then get her to own that space, right?
And I think when she feels it, she will know it, because there will be a thing in her system that is like, whoa, this feels very different. And
right.
That's what we have to kind of trick her system into experiencing.
Got it. And I think I agree. And Jill, also is a Pilates instructor and just recommended that we have her do it on her knees instead of her feet, because that's probably where she's going to be more comfortable there, right? Like the system is going to organize better for her if we don't introduce her feet quite yet, I think. All right, let's say.
I have a suggestion for opening up the sit bones from Sarah Duvall's course.
Sure.
She was always about recruiting the adductors, so squeezing a ball, maybe like a Pilates ball, in between her thighs as she does the hip hinge, and like really trying to engage right above her pubic bone, that low belly, like almost like doing like a Kegel at the front of the pelvic floor as she takes her hips back to kind of train herself to engage the front of the pelvic floor and release the back of the pelvic floor in her movement.
Perfect. So I'm just making a list right now, because the more we talk about this, the more things we know will work. We hope will work to open up the back. We can start to use all of the list of things and come up with an exercise. This is how I like to do it. Come up with an exercise that sort of nails all of them at the same time, if we can. Let's bend your knees up, Patricia, and just look at your breathe. Her feet to me are a big part of the picture. I know we want to do things on her back, but Jill, you know something, like, you know that the other day, Patricia, you said you did some stuff to encourage pronation. I'm wondering if we can stick with that theme of the feet going in and out of pronation, but start to add the articulation of the pelvis with it to couple the pelvic movement with the foot movement. And I'm wondering if that will help you unlock that system a little bit. So we can also add in adductors with that as well, okay? And that front pelvic floor contraction, I think, is a good idea. All right, can you put your right arm off to the side just so we can see your body? You can put it just off 90 degrees, is fine. All right. Take a breath in for us.
No belly expansion.
What's that? She's breathing in right now and breathing out. The breath is not going all the way down into the pelvis, I would say. It's kind of stopping the belly button area. She's in a tilt now, like her back is like totally flat on the ground, right? So can you feel like every segment of your spine nice and flat on the ground, Patricia?
No.
You can't. You have a gap in there somewhere?
It feels like there's a gap here. Like,
okay. It's hard to tell with the black on black. So I'm going to go off what you feel. Okay, there we go. Yep, I see it now. Okay. Can you do some pelvic rocking for us where you go into like in and out of an anterior posterior tilt? Okay, good. And then the other way. Okay. This is where I get interested. Okay, so this is where my brain starts going wild. Okay. What is she using? I'm looking at Jill. What is she using to generate that posterior tilt? What muscle is working?
I mean, I see her ribs come up like a whole lot when she does, like, instead of using her pelvis, I see her ribs doing that pump handle up.
So yeah, you're right. She's pressurizing back up with her pelvic tilt. It's really interesting, actually. You can see it's almost like she's squeezing a juice box, and like all the pressure is going, like it's like she's squeezing in the middle, so it's all going like up into her rib cage. She's also like really rectus dominant with this pelvic rotation. Okay, it's all coming from the front of her body. Okay, if I guarantee if I went in there and tried to grab her hamstrings, I don't think I would feel much going on back there. I feel like they'd be pretty like non-engaged. What do you think, Patricia? You tell me.
They're not engaged.
Okay. So
they are not engaged.
Can you do that movement with a jelly belly?
Patricia, undo. Put your hand on right across your belly button. Yep. Either one. Okay. I want to see if you can do that movement without letting your belly drop down towards the floor.
So keep it up?
Keep it keep it where it is. Don't push it up, don't push it down, just leave it right where it is and see if you can rotate your pelvis.
Hardly.
She's getting a little bit. My concern is that the next thing in line with after that rectus is going to be that deep posterior pelvic floor that she's going to start using and clenching that tailbone area. So what I want you to do first is maybe, can you ground those feet for me and try to like isometrically pull yourself towards your feet to get your hamstrings on? Yeah. Just like that. Just hold that there. And can you go ahead and rest it for a second? Can you get yourself maybe into a little bit more of an anterior tilt? So reach your tailbone towards your heels for me. Or reach your pubic bone, just like try to think of your pubic bone going towards your calves for me. Okay. And keep that pubic bone reaching towards your calves as you drag yourself towards your feet slightly. Okay. Can you feel the back of your legs starting to work?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This is all I want her to do right now. Okay. This is where I would start her. This is an exercise. This is her breathing here, keeping her spine neutral. I could start to add a ball squeeze on an exhale just to start incorporating the idea of a little bit of adduction to try to open up the back of the hips. But all I want here is to just get her used to what this feels like. I may put something underneath her back. Do you have something to put underneath your back, like a little lumbar support or something, or a towel, rolled up towel?
Yeah.
Because what I want to do next is I actually want to position her passively into a little bit more neutral anterior pelvic tilt if I can. And then have her use that hamstring pull and that hamstring pull only to try to bring her more to neutral so that she gets out of that pattern of that rectus. Man, that is strong, Jill. That Pilates pull is crazy. That's wild. But so all we're trying to do here is replace the patterning of being so rectus dominant in the front to creating a little bit more support from the hamstrings in the back, because once I can get more control over what this is doing and I can play with this back and forth of forward and back with the front muscles and the back muscles, then I can get a pelvis that's like, okay, at least I'm safe to stand. And if I'm safe to stand, now we can talk about opening this guy up, right? Because this is never going to open if this pelvis is like not feeling safe in space, okay?
Like that?
Yeah, maybe just a pinch lower.
But is that back okay?
That's perfect, but just like lower, closer to your lower lumbar spine where it meets your sacrum. That'll be better. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I want you to almost feel like your butt's kind of like hanging off a ledge a little bit. That's good. That's good there. That's good. Yep, you can see how it's kind of just falling over there. So do that pull again for me where you just try to gently, but don't tuck your butt. So let your bum rest on the ground. Okay. It's just falling and resting and sinking into the ground. And all you're going to do is drag your bum towards your feet slightly. And then
I feel like I'm pulling my heels to my bum.
You can do that too. Whatever works better in your brain. That's fine. And then I want you to think of your hamstring attachments that go from your knee to your sit bone. And I want you to think of using that hamstring attachment to pull your sit bone towards your knees a little bit. So using those hamstrings to sort of curl your pelvis under.
So here.
Yes. So you're going to be using that muscle to try to create that posterior tilt that you do in Pilates, but you're going to use just that muscle instead of using your belly. So your belly stays soft and you're trying to pull from the back instead of pull from the front.
Okay, I'm trying.
You're doing great. Can you feel those hamstrings working to do that?
Yeah, this is totally different.
This is great. I would just have her breathe and hold, breathe and hold, breathe and hold. This is her exercise. Practice it, okay? Then I would have you try to pull forward and see if you can start to lift your hips off the ground without tucking your butt. So you're going to use the pull forward to drag you up versus a tuck of your hips.
What's pulling forward?
Your hamstrings are dragging your bum towards your heels, or your heels are dragging towards your butt, whichever one you like to think about.
Okay.
And that action that's going to start to pull so hard that it starts to pull you up off the ground, like flat off the ground versus curling off the ground.
It's not lifting.
That's okay. It doesn't have to right now. I just want you to imagine, like, kind of thinking that direction where it's like you want your body to come flat off the ground without curling under too much. So Patricia's like not the client you're going to coach like tuck your butt under on. Okay. She's like the opposite. We're trying to get her out of that. What do you think, Patricia?
I love it.
What I want to make sure is that if you feel your hip flexors in the front, like just below your hip bones, I want to make sure those are not kicking in.
This is off.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. I do want to make sure of that, because that can be when people start to pull themselves on the ground, sometimes they'll start to pull with the front of the hip instead of drag with the back of the hip. So that's just something to be aware of, because that hip flexor is just going to throw interference into everything you're trying to accomplish right here. Okay.
Yeah, this is going crazy.
Awesome. This is all she needs right now, is to like feel that support. Okay. And we're going to you just start on the ground like this. Super simple. Okay. You can do it anywhere. Okay. The idea being, can we get you standing and being able to recruit that muscle also? Okay. Can you take a few breaths for us?
I'm not doing anything now.
Don't do anything. Just breathe.
Where do you want me to breathe?
I just want you to breathe. Just take a breath in. Take a breath out. All right. Can you do that little drag with your hamstrings again and find it and hold it and then breathe while you're there? And let's just see what there you go. And then let's see what that looks like. And let it out. Keep the pull in both parts of the breath cycle. I don't know, is my brain trying to see this, or do you see more air going into her lower abdominals? Before I saw it getting cut up in the upper abdominals, and now I feel like she's getting that breath to go lower into the lower abdominals. Okay, Dawn, you see it too?
I feel it.
Okay.
A lot of these people just need permission to let their abs go.
Yeah.
And they right? Go. Patricia knows.
I'm like a Pilates person by proxy.
Yeah, you could be a good one.
The thing is, you don't know you're doing it.
Right.
That's it. You don't know you're doing it.
So your hamstrings are giving permission, right? Your hamstrings are saying it's safe now. It's safe to let go. I got you. I got this. Okay. That's all that's happening right now. Okay. Perfect. So this is where we get her started. The next.
I feel a little bit here.
What's that? A little
now
bit.
I feel a little bit here.
Okay. So take a break. Whenever that happens, just take a break, kind of do a reset. We can pay attention a little bit more what's happening with the feet. It could just be fatigue. You're just getting tired, so the quads are kicking in. So
she might, when she takes the break, a break position that might be nice for her is like constructive rest. So the ball between her knees and toe heel out her feet. So she's biasing some internal rotation in that rest, now that we've kind of got some breathing happening and the hamstrings turning on, rather than going to an externally rotated position.
You noticed that too. I agree.
Which is like jazz hands all the way.
Right. So what you just did, Patricia, you didn't, it's just that you re-encouraged a pattern that you're still in, that it would be great if we encouraged a pattern that were another frontal plane pattern and transverse plane pattern that we're trying to get out of you. So what she's saying is, instead of knees out, oh yeah, that's my comfort position, let's have you go a little bit more knees in. So even just taking something, you got a ball, perfect. Just doing that. And while you're there, imagining your femurs, like if you draw a line down the front of your pants, imagine that entire line sort of like spinning towards each other. So that as that line spins towards each other, the sit bones sort of move away from each other. And you imagine those femurs kind of moving in the sockets. So the entire length of that limb is rotating in the socket into internal rotation, but you're not pressing the ball. It's just like, I just want you to like softly rotate them towards each other, if that makes sense. You got it?
Yeah.
Can you feel the back of the bum opening a little bit? Can you get that sensation of, if I turn my femurs in, I create space and length in the back? As in the sit bones move away from each other. Imagining those muscles that kind of connect from your tailbone to your femurs lengthening.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. So that's your rest position. You just kind of breathe there.
Got it.
Okay. Great. Very good suggestion. I know we don't want to go directly to feet, but the lady's got to stand, right? Patricia's got to stand up. So let's have you stand up. Let's talk about how we can maybe get these hamstrings on standing for you, okay? She needs length, right? She needs length to the hamstrings, but she needs them to work at the same time. Patricia, let's have you go find that wall, put your hands on the wall, and I want you to lean on the, kind of like you're gonna do a downward dog on the wall, where you have your hands on the wall and your hips are gonna come back like this. Yeah. So we wanna see you from the side though.
Oh, you want to see me from the side, okay.
So I think when you had it was good if you just go to that wall to your left. Yeah. Great. All right. So scoot away from us just a bit if you can. That way we can maybe see your feet. Yeah. Perfect. All right. Walk your hands down a pinch lower. And I want you to just kind of like gently press with your hands and let those hips, don't move your feet, but let your hips sit back a little bit behind your feet. Yep. Oh, and this, I just thought about your shoulder. This probably isn't good.
It's okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah, fine, totally fine.
Okay, all right, you let me know, okay? I don't want you to be uncomfortable because that's
No, it's fine, really, it's fine.
Okay, walk your feet forward just a pinch. Okay, and then kind of sit those hips back. Good, I want you to just be there. I want you to take a breath in, and I want you to just exhale your sternum back a little bit. Okay.
Huh? Pardon me?
Just exhale your sternum back towards the ceiling. So just kind of get some air out. Okay, I want you to keep your knees stiff where they are. And I want you to imagine pulling your feet back on the ground a little bit. It's like you're trying to scrape gum off your feet, pulling backwards. And I want to see if you can feel the back of your hamstrings turn on when you do that.
Oh yeah.
So I want you to keep those on. I want you to breathe into that. Okay. And then I want you to make sure that you are in the middle of your feet. So if you were to take your hands off the wall, you wouldn't fall forward and you wouldn't fall backwards. Now I want you to take one hand and put it on one thigh. Front of your thigh, maybe towards your knee. Good. Then I want you to take your other hand, put it on your other knee. I want you to keep pulling your feet back on the floor so you really feel your hamstrings kicking on to hold you there. What do you think?
Love it.
Okay, we're gonna breathe down into it.
Huh?
We're gonna breathe, take a breath in, down towards, to breathe in, down towards the bottom of your hips, in between those sit bones. And then I want you to exhale and let all the air out. Now this is a good position. Somebody was saying that if you're here, on your exhale, you can focus on contracting the front of your pelvic floor. And on your inhale, you can focus on putting breath or you know, space down into the back of the pelvic floor between the sit bones. So it's an exhale, front of the pelvic floor lifts. Inhale, open up space in the back. Okay. What do we think of that, Patricia?
Love it.
Okay. Now to stand up from there, this is what I want you to do. I want you to keep your knees stiff at that angle, and I want you to continue to pull back on the floor a bit and use that pull to pull yourself up from that position. Don't lift with your head.
So I keep my knees bent?
Keep your knees stiff at that angle, that bent angle they're at, and you're going to traction your feet back and think of using those hamstrings to reorient, to kind of pull your hips forward underneath your body as you come up. Yep. So keep going. Use those hamstrings. That's it. Pull with them. Pull with them. That's it. Press your feet into the ground, pull with them. And then you can start to straighten the knees at the very end, but it's a straightening that comes from kind of pulling from the back. Okay. Now your chest is a little bit forward. Is that how you normally typically stand? Like that? Okay. It's okay. Just making sure. I don't think I've seen you just standing there. All right. How did that feel, Patricia, in terms of being able to bring yourself up with your hamstrings?
Revolutionary.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so Patricia's great because she is a really good example of a lot of people, right? Like these are a lot of our clients that walk in the door. We got the glute, the butt clenchers, the glute grippers, whether they were trained this way, which honestly, a lot of them were, Patricia. Okay, a lot of the women, especially in your age category, were trained in, when fitness was really starting to get, going in their group classes, and it was like, tuck your butt, tuck your butt, tuck your butt, navel to spine. And so there's a lot of patterning there. So this is really important to try to get people out of that. Okay. Very good. Oh,
I never felt
clamshells. Yeah.
I never felt my hamstrings like that. It was revolutionary. I loved it. And I don't know, could you see the pelvic floor lengthening when I inhaled?
I can't see it lengthening from here. Sometimes I can if I'm in person with somebody, but what I didn't see was an overextended lumbar area. It looked like you were fairly neutral there. It didn't seem like you were trying to overarch your back.
I wasn't even thinking about it. It was out of the picture.
And that's what I was saying about how if we can create safeness in the pelvis in this orientation, then we can give it permission to open up. Okay, because we're not having to use those muscles to control this anymore. We took the back out of it by replacing it with the hamstrings. Okay, so that now there's safety to let go, and the body knows that I no longer bend my body from here and here. This is not where I bend my body from anymore. I'm able to anchor my pelvis so that I can bend my body from here. Okay, and that's what we're trying to do with you. Okay, that makes sense? So obviously this is like bilaterally, right? Then we start going into like, how do we shift her into one side versus the other? Okay. And all I would do is just probably put her one foot slightly behind in front of the other. So if you went back to that same exact exercise, let's go do that. Okay. So put one foot, like, I don't know, 2 inches in front of the other end, but that's a little too much. So like a half a foot's length in front of the other one. Yeah, that's it. That's perfect. So you got your right foot in front of the other. You're going to go ahead and sit back into your hips again. Yeah, perfect. Now with your right foot in front of your left, I want you to make sure that your right pelvis and your right knee are also in front of your left slightly. Yeah, but don't slide towards me. Okay, so I don't want you to like slide your body to the right. I just want and make it subtle. Okay, it's like, yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay, those knees are going to be stiff again. I want you to stiff at that angle. What's that? Okay. Yeah, stiff at the angle that they're at. Okay, and I want you to kind of press away from your right side, like you're kind of skating off your right side. So you feel a little bit more grounding in your left heel.
Okay.
Okay. Because we have your left foot behind your right. I'm trying to get you into your left side. I want to make sure that you're not still just hanging out on your right side. I want you to actually energize, push yourself out of the right so that you're on top of your left. Does that make sense?
Got it. Got it.
Now I want to make sure that we are over that foot. So I want you to go ahead and put your hands on your knees again, like you just did on the last one. So you can, yep, there and there. Good. And I want you to sit your hips back a little bit more, thinking about the left creeping back a little bit more than the right. Even though they're both coming back together, the left's just kind of leading the race a little bit. Pause there and then just shift off that right side like you're skating off the right so that your left hip is more on top of your left foot. So you feel heavier on that left side.
Yes.
Make sure you're pulling with those feet. Find those hamstrings in this position, especially that left one, because that's what's going to keep you here. Okay. And then I want you to breathe same way into the back of the pelvic floor. Inhale, exhale. Connect with the front of the pelvic floor. You can also think about your left upper inner thigh. So your proximal inner thigh, like up towards going into your groin, just squeezing that gently towards midline. And it's that squeeze internal rotation of the left that's going to help open up that left glute a little bit more. What do you think, Patricia?
Repeat that cue, please.
Remember how we talked about the femurs kind of spinning towards each other?
Yeah.
Or squeezing on a ball? Just think of squeezing a little ball with the left inner thigh only, but stay open, stay over your left foot. Okay. So don't squeeze so much that it pushes you kind of over to me. I want you to stay over that left side and then just a little squeeze. And that should make it feel like it opens up the back of that left hip a little bit more. What do you think?
I can also feel the left inner thigh now, but.
So left inner thigh you should feel. Should be in that left heel. You should be pulling back with that left hamstring. Now, now to stand up, I want you to, and your right foot should feel like there's not a whole lot of weight on it actually. And then the left, the left side now to stand up, you're going to kind of keep that tight knee and you're going to pull with the hamstring to bring your hips forward and up so that you can stand up.
So the hamstring is the origin of it is pulling down toward the knee?
Correct. But I almost don't want you to think about it because I don't want you to overtuck your butt, but that is the idea. That was great.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah. Okay. I would really drag it out even longer. you're doing great. You start to come up, and then it's like you get to the top and you're like, oh, I'm going to straighten my knee to come up. So it's like I don't even need your knee straight. I would rather you just really work on continuing to hang on to that hamstring as long as you possibly can, so you can learn how to contract it in a neutral extension position here. Because otherwise you're getting to here where you're still in flexion and you're like, I'm giving up on my hamstring, I'm using my quad instead.
Can you coach me again? Can I do it again?
Yeah, so it's just getting to the very top of the end range. I think this is what happens a lot. It's very weak on most people at that end range of bringing the hip into a neutral extension, and they just kind of like, I got nothing else. And they use their quad and they straighten the knee out. So, yep. So use that, pull back, keep going. Yep. Stiff knee there. Okay. Stiff knee at that angle. Okay. So now you're starting to lean back from your back. Okay. So now you're starting to use your thoracic kind of like bra line area to pull back. So come back down, put your hands on your knees, and don't grip with your fingers, but just gently press your palms into your hands to create a little bit of tension. Okay. And then use that tension to kind of like slide up your legs to come back up. And sometimes, so don't, watch me, Patricia. I'm just giving you another way to do this, because sometimes just creating a little tension will help here. If I'm here and I'm here, I'm going to push and slide, push and slide, push and slide, push and slide, push and slide while I'm pulling from the back here. And that kind of just keeps you connected so you can't lean back through your spine. Slide them. That's it. Slide. Use that hamstring. Start to pull it more. Your knees can start to straighten out a little bit here, but you straighten them by pulling back with the back of the leg. That's it. So you can keep going. You can keep pulling from the back. You can keep pulling from the back. That's a little better. That's better. So you see how you get your knee to straighten by pulling from the back versus squeezing from the front.
That was a completely different cue. Pull from the back of the leg. Yeah, it's a great cue.
Yeah. Okay, good. Good. Patricia, nailed it, man.
That was great. That felt great.
Nailed it. All right. So just really working on, I think, what do you think? Were you able to get that feeling of your glute kind of opening up a little bit?
Yeah. The only word that comes to mind is revolutionary. I've never felt that before, ever, in all these years. So it's astounding. It's liberating. It feels liberating.
Good. Good.
It also looks energizing, considering it's 11 o'clock there. You look very energized.
I forgot.
Yeah,
I told you I'd forget. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I just what I'm feeling is that I want to keep doing this.
Great. Because it feels kind of good, right?
Feels great.
Yeah.
Feels great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So what we would do, which we don't have time for today, but what I would do if I had Patricia working with me would be to start to reorganize the way she's like go back to her squat and go back to some of the other movements that she wants to be able to do, and see if we can establish some of that opening. If her body feels safe enough to keep this stable so that we can get that to open in all these different movements. But right now, this is kind of what I would get if I saw her. I mean, this is kind of what I, normally I'm like, all right, now you got like 2 or 3 exercises to really work on this. Let's see how you do over the next week. And then let's kind of re-meet and work on some of these other goals that you have in terms of movement, thinking along the same lines, right?
Mm-hmm. But I think just doing this, and of course doing it bilaterally, right? Not just on my left side.
Oh no, we would do it on the other side too. Yeah.
Right. But I think this is going to have repercussions through the whole body.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I said that, I don't know
just
if you
from
put
this
that in the Instagram post, but if we can get your glutes to open up more in your squat patterning, I think we'll get a lot of this excessive tension out of the neck, because it's almost like you're trying so hard to get into it. And it's like, do not enter. And it's like pushing everything back up, and it's creating all that tension. So I think that we'll see a huge change. It'd be really cool to compare some movements now that we have some videos, you know, some before and afters of that. It should feel like you're greater ease of movement, that you're not straining and forcing it and fighting it and just feeling like tight everywhere.
Right. And bringing this principle to Pilates, I can think of a million exercises where this would apply.
Great. That's what Jill does. She's like, oh yeah, so roll with it, run with it, and then let me know how it goes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for staying up late, and I hope you get to sleep in tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Jill. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Awesome job.
Thank you. Bye.
Well done, Patricia.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Jessie.
Thank you so much.